Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows here. The year is 2022 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. So season 5 episode 2 is called The Very Long Night of Londo Mollari. So full spoilers for the episode as always. Long story short, Londo has a heart attack and much of this episode is spent inside his head as we still see the real world. We still see kind of them try to save him, and he's on the operating table, or not even operating, he's just in the med bay. And we see the efforts to try and save him because his right heart had a heart attack because he's got two, and we get that explained to us.
Left.
Was he his left?
I think they said his left because his right heart is the bigger one.
Yeah, but they said the left one would be easy to fix at the start. Franklin said if it was the left, it'd be easy. I can fix that one. Maybe
this doesn't matter.
It probably doesn't. But that was part of the fun part. I thought was the lore of this is how the two hearts work.
When they first said that he had a heart attack, my immediate thought was, which one? Because I remember they already said that he had two hearts.
Which, to be fair, immediately Veer says which one.
Yeah,
that's the first thing he says. And it does sound like the right one's the worst of the two. So if the left one has a heart attack, it's like, okay, it's not good, obviously, but it's less serious, which is why probably it's an important question. It's not just because if it was equally serious either way, it wouldn't really matter, would it? So it'd be like a silly question. You know, it'd be like,
yeah,
you know, I'll add a sliced part of my ear off. You wouldn't immediately go, which one? Because it wouldn't be important, you know.
Well, when humans have a heart attack, there isn't a main artery that's, I think, called the widowmaker, because if you get a heart attack there, it's almost always lethal.
Oh, sure, yeah. So the entire right heart is the widowmaker
comparison.
In this case. Yeah, okay.
Although I still think it's the left.
I don't think so. I think it was the right, because I mean, it doesn't really matter, but people can tell us in the comments which heart it was, but I'm fairly certain it was the right.
Okay. There's no stakes in this, just pride.
Well, there's a lot of stakes in Mollari's system, and that's why I had a heart attack.
Ayo.
That was an okay joke. I'm wasn't great, but it was okay. Anyway, we spent a lot of time in his head with him talking to versions of the characters in his head. He talks to Sheridan, who changed his outfit like 3 times and he's seen with them. He talks to Veer, he talks to whoever else. Ultimately, Jakar, which is probably the best moment, I think, is when he's talking to Sheridan and Sheridan says, you need to turn around and confront something, and we see Jakar standing behind him. And I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good representation. And the idea that he has to make peace with what he's done with Jakar and the Narn, that made a lot of sense to me.
Well, at least he's never apologized for it.
Yes. Which obviously he does at the end of the episode when he wakes up. It's the first thing he does. He wakes up and looks over, because Jakar's there. Jakar's actually waiting to see if he's okay, which in and of itself is kind of a big deal, you know, for their relationship. And I think Jakar's reaction is also one of the most interesting things about the episode, is the way he kind of almost smiles, and then he kind of like the weight of it hits him and he kind of has to leave. But it's, you know, there's layers there to that. And I'm saying all this to say that I didn't really like most of this, but I like these 2 moments. Like, a lot of it is just like the concept can work of this type of episode, but it kind of felt like something to do rather than we're doing this because there's an important reason to. So there's a couple of times when they hit on the Londo Jakar relationship that I kind of like those little moments. But a lot of it where Londo's just being tortured in his head, or he's, you know, walking around the empty station and getting monologues from characters talking about who he is and things like that. I'm a little tuned out of some of this.
Yeah, I suppose I like the little things, like things feeling like a dream, like the costume changes of Sheridan, or Delenn feeling very like mystical or something, or maybe he just sees her as this prophetic person.
Yeah, because she's doing
like
a
Mollari culture is.
Because he sees her first, and she's doing like almost like a tarot card kind of reader.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Just from the culture of the Minbari, like they're so spiritual, at least especially Delenn, because she's part of that cast. But it's just how dreams work. It's just people in places that they don't really go together normally. So I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the Shakar stuff. I actually liked the acting a lot in it from the actor who plays Shakar. I forgot his name. Tomalak.
Andres Castulis.
Right, yeah.
Castulis.
We've only been doing this for a long time. In any case, I like him doing, especially when he does the Caligula Emperor guy, where he's basically doing the same acting that guy did for a particular scene. I thought, he's doing a really good job here. Not that I thought that he wouldn't. It's just, it is very much like the same guy when you're watching it.
Yeah, because they go through some of the locations, the Emperor's throne room and then the torture room, and they sort of recreate them, and it's like, okay, this is where this, you didn't do anything. You stood by and watched Narn be attacked and burned. You didn't say anything. You watched me be tortured. You didn't say anything. So the whole idea of the guilt, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, logically, what this episode is doing with, like, Londo has this near-death experience, and it makes him realize what he's not done, what he's not made amends for, and he has to say I'm sorry. He even, like, sort of reconsiders, like, an old folk tale about that the Centauri have about their souls, which they don't really talk about much, and it seems to be something that's, it's like, because Veer's heard of it, and he says, I get told this story a few times as a kid, kind of thing. But it's not like the Minbari, where it's so entrenched into their culture, where they're still talking about it constantly as adults. But this is more something like, this is an old fable.
It's like Krampus.
Like, that our souls are, like, do kind of reincarnate or do go from body to body. And if the soul decides that the body it's in is, like, horrible, and the person's, like, the implication here being that Londo's a complete bastard, and that his soul's actually quite important in a spiritual sense, and it was ready to move on because Londo's just a piece of shit. Like, okay, it's an interesting little bit of reflection from Londo.
It might just be like a near-death thing that they experience, whatever the way their subconscious works.
Yeah, but in terms of the episode, he does in a way kind of, like, earn the right to keep it. If you look at it through that lens, he does want to apologize to Jakar. That's, like, the main sort of, like, drive by the time he's waking up.
Yeah.
So
it's also very much a Christmas Carol.
A little bit. There's a little bit of that, yeah.
I mean, I think even Delenn was talking about your past or something, and then Jakar. Then we see Sheridan, and maybe he can be considered, like, present.
Yeah.
And then the future stuff is the stuff that he still has to deal with Shakar later on.
I never even thought of that, but you're right. And I think the reason why it never occurred to me is because it's so natural here, because we've already referenced his future so much that, so when they bring up his future of when he dies, that's not something new that they're bringing in just for this episode. That's something that we have seen referenced before. So it just feels natural.
Sheridan is talking about, like, living in the now, even though he knows that he has only 20 years left. He's not, like, focused on that. He's focused on just living now.
Yeah, it's about what we do in the time until then. Yeah.
Yeah. So very much of the present.
Yeah. So it goes to Christmas present, past and future. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
So which that's fine. That works. Because the episode starts. He has the heart attack after he's arguing with Zach because he's booze. He's fancy booze that gets shipped in from Centauri Prime. Needs to be quarantined. But it has to be temperature controlled or it loses all of its flavour, so he's not happy about it. And it's funny because it does look like a poison, because he takes a swig of this stuff and then he, like, drops down, and it's like, oh shit, did someone poison him? And Veer thinks that. He's really upset about it. Garibaldi's not got a lot in this episode, but he's the one that comes and tells Veer that news. Still no Lita this episode as well. Or the new captain.
What's going on?
Yeah. The captain makes more sense, though, because she just got, like, a lot of focus last episode, so she can take one off. Yeah. But
has she even met Londo yet?
Yeah, because he was in the meeting with everyone when they were talking about postponing because of the assassination threat.
You're right.
So
I'm sure she doesn't have much of an influence on him to be part of his dying dream.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I agree that the episode it's mostly good, but it's just a bit weird, bit fantastical, to a point where it doesn't seem like it's part of the big picture, with the exception of the last couple of minutes, and even those are okay. They're okay. Like, I just can't. The show's trying to tell me that these two are going to make amends somehow, and I just can't imagine like coming back from what Londo did in Jakar's eyes.
Well, they already have kind of like a weird friendship forming from last season.
I know, but I just don't know if I can like really be on board with it, because it just seems like he was just such a monster. Like, he caused genocide for them. And I understand, like, you know, it wasn't entirely his fault. Or, you know, who knows if Morning chose Jakar, if he wouldn't have done the same thing. But at the same time, it's just, he just did so many terrible things that a friendship just seems impossible in my mind.
That's what makes it interesting to me, because it did seem impossible at one point in time, and it feels like we're inching closer to it. And
yeah, but I still don't buy it. And that's all. I mean, they're very good actors and they're great characters, but just part of it is just too much of a disbelief for me.
I can see it, and I've kind of felt it as it's been going forward. And I think something as simple as Londo apologizing is kind of the start of maybe it properly blossoming. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's going to be like their best buddies necessarily, but this idea that there's kind of a mutual respect that forms over time, but because the whole point of the show in many ways is that we have to get over the bad things in the past and build something new. Otherwise, you know, we have to. It can't just be an eye for an eye forever, right? You know, that's kind of the point.
Yeah,
so,
but would anybody be friends with Hitler if he apologized after?
What's the point in arguing this debate anymore if you're going to just bring up Hitler?
Well, I'm just saying, like, who's a monster that caused a genocide that everyone knows? Like, would anyone be friends with him after if he apologized?
I don't think it's a fair one-to-one comparison to compare Londo Mollari to Hitler, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably true, but maybe it's an extreme example. But it's also like an example that is easy, you know? It's an easy reach.
Yeah, for me, the dream sequence stuff just kind of, like, a lot of it feels a bit plodding, where I'm just kind of like, okay, you're going on and on a bit here. I don't feel like you're saying anything particularly new. So while I do think some of the end results are some interesting ideas to tackle in this kind of epilogue season, if you want to call it that, some of the getting there here just felt a little bit like meandering to me. And I think that's just, you know, it is what it is. There's not really much you can do to fix it at this point. I did kind of like the visual of when he opens up like a door on the floor, and it looks like it's like heart tissue like beating underneath like the square. That was like an almost David Lynch-esque visual of him looking at that. I thought that was just interesting.
I could have done with more Lynchian motifs in this.
Yeah, I think a more stark, like really artistic mood like that might have helped it, and helped to make it a bit more engaging, and you know, until we got to those end beat kind of moments.
Yeah,
but
maybe little Easter eggs in the background where we can be like, oh, that's in his mind because of this episode or something.
Oh,
like that.
Sure, yeah.
I did enjoy. I actually rewound it because I had to see it again when they cut open his clothes so you could see like what his chest looks like. And he's an alien, so he's got like all sorts of flaps. Those might be his tentacles, like just hanging out. Like that's what they look like when they're dormant.
When they're flaccid, you might say.
Yes, not erect. Or being used for a tool to collect cards.
That does raise a question though. Was he technically aroused when he was like pinching that card at the poker table?
I'm sure it's not difficult for him.
Yeah. Anyway, so main plot kind of middling for me, even though there was some nice beats, you know, sprinkled throughout. I didn't necessarily like it as a whole though, sadly. The other plot of the episode is that Lanier wants to leave, and this was the other thing that kind of makes the episode a bit middling for me overall, is because I still don't necessarily like this, like just straight up he's in love with Delenn and he feels, I would say jealous per se, but he feels awkward being there now that she's like married to someone. And I think because we kind of had to do a little bit of gymnastics ourselves to kind of accept it the first time he brought this up, because we didn't really like the idea that he was just in love with her. And we said, oh, well, maybe it means, you know, it's not exactly the way we would mean it. necessarily.
Doesn't seem to mean, yeah. Now it kind of just seems to mean that, doesn't it?
The more times we're on, the more examples we've seen it crop up. It has just kind of felt like, no, he's just in love with her, and he feels like the third wheel now. Now, don't get me wrong. There's an exchange between Delenn and Sheridan later in the episode where, it's like, okay, this is sad that he's leaving, but maybe it's for the best because, we have a saying on Earth that three's a crowd, and Delenn goes, on Mimbar, 3 is sacred, and Sheridan's like, I don't think I'm ready to deal with that statement. And I thought that was funny because it felt very true because, yeah, like Mimbar's whole thing, like the entire show has been
3.
Yeah, everything's like, 3 casts, all that, blah blah blah. Like it's all been like their theme is like 3. So the idea, not that their relationship should be 3 people. She's not saying that, but that's the joke here is that she says that and he's like, I don't know about the menage a trois. I'm not into that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. I
thought that joke was fine.
I did laugh actually when he actually left, when Lanier left, and Sheridan kind of looks at Delenn like, finally, we can relax. It's just you and me again. So long, sucker.
I mean, Delenn's, understandably upset. She does care about Lanier, but
we care about Lanier too.
Yeah.
When I think back on it, I'm like, how many episodes was he really in? Because he was a pretty minor character throughout the show.
There's been plenty.
I don't know. It feels like we haven't gotten as much Lanier as I don't know, maybe thought we would initially. Because this does feel pretty, I don't know. Like it's the last season, so this might be the last time we see him.
He's still in the opening titles. There's no way it's the last time we see him.
You don't think so?
I'll be surprised if we don't see him again. Now that he's going to have to be a ranger, I'll be surprised.
I mean, they had Natoth in the opening titles for the whole second season or whatever.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's fair. But going by normal TV rules, I would say that we're definitely going to see him because he's in the opening titles. But this show can be fascinating. I disagree though that he's not been there enough. Like I think Lanier's appeared. I think him and Veer, probably Lanier a little bit more so than Veer, have appeared in a nice, healthy amount of episodes every season.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get a Lanier episode. I can't think of any.
Oh sure, one where he's the focus. Yeah, we don't really had that, but
we've had Veer focused episodes.
A couple, yeah. In fact, that's probably one of my favorite scenes of the episode is Lanier and Veer together at the bar, and Veer said, "Oh, I heard you're leaving," and them hugging goodbye. It was kind of nice because they're kind of similar levels to their respective ambassadors. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a nice thing for them to yeah, we've been trying to keep up because Veer especially he's been trying to put Londo on the right path. As all the bad stuff was happening, he was trying to be the good conscience for Londo. So it's kind of nice, it feels very genuine coming from Veer that he's saying goodbye to Lanier.
I think that made this feel like this is finale for him. Like this is it.
Sure, I can see what you mean. Yeah, that scene makes it feel that way, I suppose. Yeah,
that scene, and it's just I'm off. The next time you'll see me, I'll be a man.
I'll be a ranger. Yeah,
right. Maybe we'll see him as a ranger. That's true.
When he's talking to Delenn and she's asking why, it's I need to go and earn your respect. It's you have my respect. I've always respected you. And he's like, oh yeah, in many ways, but not in this. And it felt like a very
not in the human man way.
It felt like a very toxic masculinity thing to say. No, you don't respect me as a warrior, as a man, as a sexual potential prospect. You don't respect me that way.
I mean, he hadn't been riding Garibaldi's bike around. I'm cool.
Yeah, it felt like a really unhealthy thing to say, and this idea that does he actually on any level think that he's going to come back as this badass ranger and that she will go, oh no, you know what, now I'm into you. Now I'm into you, Lanier. I'm going to divorce my husband that I've fallen madly in love with for the past several years and denounce that and be Mrs. Lanier.
How long do Minbari live? They live a long time, right?
Longer than the humans, yeah.
Sheridan's only got 20 years.
True, yeah. And maybe the age difference at that point won't be that big a deal because it's it's an 80-year-old and a 60-year-old at that point. Who cares?
Is he that much younger than her? I don't think so.
I got the impression he was just out of college at the start of the show, but maybe I'm wrong.
Whatever Minbari College is.
Yeah, whatever Minbari College. Because it felt like he was an intern. He feels like an early 20-something intern at the start of the show.
I guess, but like Delenn had the same position for Dukat, and he promoted her to Great Council.
True.
After that.
True. There's definitely a difference, though. They're definitely a different generation.
Mm-hmm. I guess. He comes off as younger, but maybe it is just...
I mean, yeah, maybe if you do the math and you think of what age he was in Lost in Space as a kid, maybe he's actually, like, you know, like not that far away from our age, but he definitely
much
feels
like
younger.
Veer and Londo, those actors are actually quite close in age.
Yeah. Or Harrison Ford and Sean Connery and Indiana Jones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're only 12 years apart, but Sean Connery's playing his father. Yeah, so because we're actually talking about this like linear thing as like a love triangle, and it's kind of awkward because like obviously she's talking to Sheridan about it, and he's like, yes, I was worried that this might be something that would make him feel awkward. I don't know. It's like I don't know if I necessarily like them going down this like Lanier's in love with Delenn path as much of this.
Yeah, I guess it's just a little. It's almost like no one told him that was his character. That was going to be his character thing until like the day of the script arrived where he had to say that, because he never really acted that way.
Sure, yeah.
And there was no hint of it. And even after that, I mean, isn't he talking to Cole when he says that he's in love with her the first time? And he's like, oh, well.
Maybe, yeah.
And then he says, "Oh, not in love in the way that you understand it." And that's why we were like debating. Well, maybe he's not really in love with her then, but it really does seem like Sheridan's here to stay, so Lanier's got to go.
And even when it came up again, though, it did make it sound a bit more like normal love. It did, the way he brought it up, kind of sounded like he was making peace with it because the marriage was happening, and it felt like, oh no, this is okay. Like he's going to just make his peace and like. He's accepted that Delenn's with someone and that's okay. But then this episode, it honestly makes him a little bit less likable. That he's so like, no, this is too much. I'm too jealous now. I can't be around here. Like I'm not as important to Delenn anymore because she's got someone, so I can't handle it. I need to go. And I'm not saying that's not understandable in a regular circumstance, but it already felt like the character had already seemed like he was just accepting it and moving on. So it feels like a regression into a weird state that I don't think Lanier's ever felt like a jealous guy before, and this kind of made him feel that way to me. So,
Yeah, I guess it's just a storyline that we never really bought into. Yeah,
much a shame. So between like the dream stuff being a little iffy, and then this just being a plot line I don't like that much, or a character writing decision that I don't like that much. This episode ultimately just kind of comes up feeling a little bit iffy to me overall. Like, it feels very middling.
Yeah, a little bit.
Which is a shame, because, like...
At least we got to see some good actors do some good acting.
There is that, which is nice. Because, coming out of this season, like, I know the response to this season is very mixed, and I'm very curious to see how I feel episode to episode. I like the first episode more than this one, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Yeah, sure, goofy guest stars, a little bit over the top, but that's okay. I can get in, I had long made my peace with that in this show.
Yeah, so it's not a new thing to season 5.
No, that's not a new thing at all. I mean, I suppose one of the other things we heard was that the budget got slashed, and maybe you could argue here, like, a lot of this like stuff it's just on the sets anyway, but there's a lot of stuff where it's just like in a dark room. Maybe you could argue that's them saving some money and time.
We got to see Zocolos again. Zocalo? I feel like we haven't seen that bar in a while.
It's because characters have, especially we haven't seen Babylon 5 for most of, like, season 4 was so away from the station for a lot of it that the back half of the season it felt like we were never there. I feel like Garibaldi was hanging out there when he was still on the station as a private eye a little bit, and that was basically it.
This bar is not in the brown section though.
No. Well, the regular,
because this is the one that the bridge crew go to.
Yeah. The most of that stuff isn't, because the main marketplace isn't in the brown sector either. Although I did laugh because at one point when Londo's in his dream, like, I was like, oh, this is the brown sector. When the first place he goes to, this is definitely the brown sector. I can just tell. I know what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that's where Garibaldi did most of his like private eye meetings and stuff, was in the brown
No,
Ramzo.
no. I think that was just in the regular like bar and like marketplace section of the ship.
You gotta go to where the scum are.
Yeah, the main street.
Nothing scummier.
Nah,
than the
to be
Ramzo.
fair, Garibaldi had some like upper clientele. Yeah,
Sure.
he had
He did,
proper
you're right.
clients.
You're right, yeah.
It wasn't all schemy people coming to, you know. What I want to know is how's the new telepath a civilization or colony that started on the station doing? Where's Byron? What's he up
Yeah.
to?
Maybe they're in Grey 17. Maybe that's where their home is.
What a
Nobody knows
callback!
it's there.
What a callback!
They have this empty floor. I mean, they took care of the monster that was there, right? So
That's true. Yeah, maybe they could have just like had the whole colony in there and not told the captain if they wanted to do it
Yeah.
sneakily.
that's right.
So much potential. They got a secret space no one knows about.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it for nefarious purposes, but I'm thinking, yeah, Garibaldi and Coke and set up like a, I think, you know,
Oh
like
yeah,
a
that's
home
definitely
theater.
where Mantis was. Until he got eaten by whatever that creature was.
Oh sure, yeah, Per Mantis.
That's where Mantis lived. That's where he did all his shading dealings.
Yeah, but no Lita this episode. No.
Misty Zorak.
Where's Bridge Boy? Like Bridge Boy started the season, and he's
That's
they're
right.
missing a whole episode. Why wasn't Londo's big moment in his dream talking to Bridge Boy finally?
Bridge Boy. At least we got Zach. It's
Yeah.
always a treat.
I had the thought when the opening titles were playing. I was thinking, like obviously, they don't have time machine to do this for us, but I would love it so much if like just for the last episode, Bridge Boy got a credit. But you know how it comes up saying the rank is like I wanted to say so and so as Bridge Boy, not his name, just as Bridge Boy. I had that visual in my head, and it made me start laughing
Nameless
as I was
Bridge
watching. So, yeah, but yeah. So yeah, so episode. Not in love with it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So hopefully the next one's better. But yeah, let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. You can like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. You can support us by hitting the super thanks button, or they can go somewhere else. Can they, Tara?
That's right, Peter. If you guys enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFestTV, where if you donate as low as $1 per month, you'll get access to bonus reviews for other shows we do. And if you donate $5 per month, you'll get access to these Babylon 5 reviews 6 days early. And some other shows you get early too. So head on over, check that out if it interests you. We really appreciate it if you join our little community. Thank you.
I trust you so much I didn't even listen to it.
Well, thank you.
That's the trust I have in you.
Thanks for the trust.
Yes. Trust
But I
in
still screw up all the time. Why do you trust me with this?
that's my motto. Trust in Tara.
Yeah, that's right. It's my motto too. Trust me.
Okay, that was a lot unsettling. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.